Welcome back to the Reboot Era, the podcast where we talk layoffs, career pivots, and rebuilding your life one sarcastic rant at a time. Today, I'm joined by the bold, vibrant, and unfiltered Angela Delk, a tech-savvy saleswoman turned digital artist who's got stories, sass, and a fresh take on the broken job market. Grab your wine glass or some popcorn, because this one's getting juicy.
My name is Angela Delk, and let's see, I'm here because I was laid off last year, November of last year. And I've been in software sales and marketing for about 13 years now, I guess. And prior to that, I was in nonprofit. The past decade of my life, I've been in the channel environment. It's a very kind of niche thing, I think, even though it's a sales technique that a lot of software companies use, but I think to the outside world, I don't think people really understand it. So, but anyway, I'm also a painter and a digital artist, and I just launched my website, as a matter of fact. So.
Congratulations on that. What is this website? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. So it's called Pretty Bold. It's prettybold.shop. Basically, I love to use really deep saturated colors in my art. It's really hard for me to stick with like pale, those soothing. Yeah, I'm not like that. I'm way too, it's just not my personality. So yeah, it's deep.
So for those who are wondering, and you can't see because you guys aren't going to get the video, you're just going to get the audio of this. Her background is vibrant. It is like Lily Pulitzer meets like Vineyard Vines meets, I don't even know, like Barbie.
Wow. Yeah, that's a mess. That's what I call a mess. There's like a canvas here, there's some back here, and then you'll see part of the wall that I painted with my hands because I had a couple glasses of wine, and
but it looks good. It looks good. If you ever need a wall painted, I'm going to send you to Angela.
I'm your girl. Now, I don't bring supplies, just paint in my hands. That's all I got.
I love it. And so this website, people can order your art?
Yeah, well, they can order, yes, they can, but it's also things like, t-shirts and everything from, I have phone cases, the whole bit. And generally what I do, and like purses and big tote bags and, and of course my art just has this saturated color. So they're just really vibrant.
They're loud.
Yeah, they are loud. It's really funny you should say that, because I think part of what happened with me as an artist is that, look, I've always felt like I've had this dichotomy of worlds, right? I'm in the tech field and I understand tech and I love it. I love new tech. I love gadgets. I'm all about that. But I'm also extremely creative, and that's how I problem solve, like if there's something on my mind that I need to get out, I'll just get in front of a canvas and throw some paint on it and see what happens. And sometimes it's great, and sometimes you're like, meh, let's get some more paint.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I never dreamed. I taught myself how to use Procreate. Well, YouTube taught me how to use Procreate, and I never dreamed outside. It was, even all this time that I worked for this company that I was working for, I was always creating art every day. Like when I'm not working my 9 to 5 or whatever, that's what I'm doing. I'm creating art. And so it's not something I was willing to give up. What I realized when I was laid off, to bring it back to our topic, realized when I was laid off was that I had not had a real opportunity. And this comes back to like work-life balance, right? I had not had a real opportunity to pursue things that I was passionate about. And it's like a love-hate relationship. I need my job. I need health insurance. I need money, right? I mean, I don't know anyone who doesn't. And I didn't have a way to make a living with my art. I didn't think I ever would. It was not anything that I ever considered. It was just something that I did it's almost like meditation.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is.
It is. And it's, like I said, I love the colors. I think they are loud and pretty, and it's bold. Let's talk a little bit about how we met, because I have known you for all of 3 days.
3 days.
2 days.
It's the longest relationship I've had in a long time.
It is. It's going better than most of my online dating profiles.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Certainly me too.
So Angela, I came across the post that you wrote on LinkedIn, and that's really how I meet random strangers on the internet at this point. And, I'm just going to read a little bit of it. Hot take: the hiring process in 2025, it's broken, y'all. Are you Southern? Where did the y'all come from?
I'm from Chicago, but I've lived in the South for a long time. So yeah, I say it ironically. For me, it's like an ironic thing because anybody who knows me would be like, she doesn't say that, but I just think it's funny.
Yeah. No, and it's true. One piece that really stuck out was, let me be clear. I don't need rearranging bullet points. I need interviews, period.
Right? Oh, God, that pisses me off. If I get one more, recruiter going, I know this guy who can rewrite your resume. I'm like, I don't need you to rewrite my freaking resume. I can do that. I
Yeah.
can look up the stuff that your guy knows. I don't,
Yeah.
it's just silly.
And it was real. It was just a rant, right? Like did you plan to post this, or did you just have a frustration?
No. Well, I had posted something, I don't know, last month or something about them asking for personal addresses, like your physical address. It's a real pet peeve of mine because they don't need it. And as a female, you don't need it. I don't need you. Who knows who has access to that information? I mean, honestly, if you think about it, so an HR department, they're going to protect the employee's information, right? They have to do that. But are they that diligent about candidates? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But I don't have anything that tells me, that indicates that I should trust that. So anyway, yeah, no, I had no plan to post that. It was just I added that little part. I was just like, are you kidding me? It was I think I had well, just to put some texture on this. And I was laid off in November of last year. I've had 3 interviews. 3. Okay. That's it. And I have applied for jobs hand over fist, just like everyone else on the market right now. And more often than not, I'm always surprised when I even get a response.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if it's a canned response and you can tell that's what it is, I'm still surprised when I see that.
Yeah. And you had a bullet point on here. The lack of human touch is real. A single personalized rejection last month shocked me. That's where the bar is now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hell, we're people, and layoffs, I almost, no, being without a job is not, I mean, it does affect your personal life. So, of course, it's personal. And when you're dealing with humans who are in, I would say, a precarious position, I was definitely luckier than most, I think. I mean, I negotiated a good severance package and, and the HR person at my previous company was just a really awesome human. And so, that they treated me really well. But the fact is, when you're laid off, you're just kind of in this limbo. If all you've ever done is work, I mean, I'm a worker. I've always been the breadwinner. I'm that person that is getting out there. Well, I quit school because I was in a car accident and all this, so I ended up getting my GED, and then I got my undergraduate degree, and then I got a master's degree, and I worked my ass off for that. Okay. Worked my ass off.
Good.
And, but you want to know something? Nobody cares. Nobody cares about my degrees. Nobody does. Nobody ever asks me, what did you study in college?
Well, I have a question for you. What did you study in college?
Well, see, as an undergrad, I wanted to be a speech pathologist. So I went to TWU. I went through their communication sciences and disorders. And around then I wasn't working full time, and I thought, I think I want to volunteer. And so I decided to volunteer at this women's shelter. And it completely changed the trajectory of my life. Just, I don't even know. I decided not to be a speech pathologist. I decided I wanted to help women. I wanted to help people in this position because they are definitely underserved. These are people who are victims of family violence or sexual assault. So anyway, I did that. It completely changed. And I decided I was going to get my master's in public administration because I could go into leadership in doing that. And I have ADD, and I changed I changed a few times. Then I was going to go into sociology because I really like teaching. And I thought, well, that would be fun. I could do that. And then I was like, well, then you have to get a PhD. Anyway, so, and then I had a baby, like things happen. Okay. Life gets it in there.
Life was lifing for you.
Exactly. Right. And it's not like you can put that off. What is that Beatles, life is what happens when you're making plans? Who said that? John Lennon, I think.
Okay.
I think it was
Yeah.
John Lennon. Yeah, I think it's life is what happens when you're making plans. And, the thing is, we don't get these moments back. We don't. This conversation, we've had a great time just talking this short time. We don't get that back. You really have to grasp those moments and make them mean something. I think somebody commented on my post about, and why do we have to retype everything in? Like, you go into one of these portals and you've got to then get your resume, and you go, let me type this again into this portal. Why do you want my fucking resume if I'm just going to have to do all the work for you?
Right.
That's lazy.
It is. But, the
It is.
system's broken, and
Oh,
That's
Yes,
what
it
we're here
is.
for. We're here to complain about it, to yell about
It
it.
pisses me off. It's just, I mean, not only will they wait forever to tell you, oh, by the way, what is it we've chosen to go in a different direction.
We've decided to move forward with other applicants.
Yes, yeah, yeah. This one I get a lot. We're very impressed with your background and your experience. However, we don't feel it's a good fit at this time.
You know what is worse is if you have Gmail, or I'm sure other email providers do it, but Gmail now gives you the AI, like, here's the summary of what the email consists
Yeah.
of. And it's just like now my inbox, when I scroll on my phone, is just like summary, rejected, rejected,
Rejected,
rejected.
rejected, rejected,
Unfortunately,
rejected.
unfortunately, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, and I think when I wrote that post and I mentioned that thing about the inhumane part, people just not connecting on a human level. Of all the months that I've been looking for a job, I mean, okay, say, I mean, who know? I don't even know how many jobs I've applied to. Hundreds? I really don't know. I mean, it's been 8 months. I've probably gotten 10 actual responses that said no thank you, and they were all canned, but think about that. All these months, all this work that I put into it, and they just shoot off an automated, email that makes you like not important. It renders you in this, kind of shoots you back into the limbo space.
Yeah, it does. And
Yeah.
you were impacted by a layoff and then unemployed for 8 months total?
Yeah. Well, yeah. November.
Going on 8, going on 9, going on
Yeah.
8. Okay.
Going
So
on 9. Yeah.
tell us the story. Give us the tea.
Okay. All right. Let me start with this. So,
Everyone get their wine glasses out and fill them.
yeah, fill up your glasses because this is groundbreaking. Oh, but okay, so I think I shared earlier, I've been doing the sales and marketing thing a long time. And in my industry, in terms of the channel and all of that, which all that means, if for any who doesn't know, it's that tech companies, specifically mostly software companies, instead of selling directly to the consumer, they often sell through partners, and they use a distribution model where they sell directly to a distributor who then has their own partners, and then the partner buys from the distributor. So your customer is really the distributor, not the partner or the end user. And so that's a distribution model. And so it's a unique, the way, the players that are involved are unique. And if you don't understand that, you're not going to be successful. I mean, it's just things that I know about it. I've learned over a decade. And then the other thing in terms of sales is that, I mentioned earlier, like territory stuff, right? Well, when you're building a territory, you want it to be as fair and equitable as possible for everybody, for all the players involved. I'm not an expert, but I've been doing it a while. Okay. So so it would not be difficult for me to set up a sales team somewhere because of that. So anyway, I work for a company that I don't want to say the name because I don't want to cause any bad blood. When I look for a company, I'm looking for how many females are in your leadership positions. I always do. Every company that I work for, I'm looking for those things. What I learned and what I didn't anticipate was that you can still have a toxic workplace with female leadership. And what I found was that, even with female leadership, it doesn't mean that there can't be some really jacked up stuff that happens. And it doesn't, regardless of gender, nepotism is real, right? People hire their friends, and that's okay. I get it. I really do. Having said that, there was a lot of change happening. And what I noticed in the few years that I was there was that when they don't quite meet their numbers, then they lay people off. So it makes their bottom line look better, right? So less capital expenditures out, or, less, not capital, but less expenditures out kind of shrinks that delta between what you wanted to do and what you actually did, right? On paper. On paper. So if your investment company is seeing is that, then it looks like you were successful. Right. So it's a tactic. Everybody does it. It is, but this company really good at it. Like it's almost like, every year there's going to be layoffs at some point. And so I was there um, a, a year or 2.5 years probably. And they created this new department. It's like a customer success department. They didn't have it before, and it wasn't working. The people that were working in the department, they didn't understand the software. They didn't understand, the subscription model. There was just a lot of stuff, and not technical, not necessarily technical, but just, what do we need to do here, and how to make decisions based on the knowledge of the products and services. Okay. So I was saying earlier that, I know a lot about setting these things up, right? Well, so they made some changes and they redistributed territories. Okay. So I went from having a really nice, fruitful southeastern, territory that was profitable, and that I had worked. And they gave me Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. Well, that doesn't sound like a big deal, except that all the territories, none of them made any sense. I wouldn't say none of them, but in particular, we had a guy who, I love this guy too, but he worked in Canada, and when they redistributed this, they also gave him the Northeast. So you had the entire country of Canada and the Northeast. Northeast, you don't even have to try hard to sell something there, just the number of bodies and business there. It's just, and because it's so small, it's a really fruitful territory. So it's not hard to grow that, and it's already profitable, right? So not only did he have this, but he had all this. Now, this is not his fault. He didn't ask for it. That's just what they did. And he's really good at what he does. So, I got nothing but love for him. It is, however, not fair when you look at the distribution of the other territories. Now, here's the best part. We all had the same quota, regardless of the territory, how good or how much it sucked, or if it had even been worked the year before. For example, Texas, the same guy had been working Texas for years, and he got fired because he didn't do his job. So I went to leadership and I said, this is not fair.
For those who don't know what quota is, it's a number you have to reach. And if you think
yeah,
about
sorry.
this, right, from a state geographic location, Canada doesn't necessarily have a lot of people. So if you're in a location that doesn't have a lot of people, and you have to hit $100,000 in sales, and then you're in a place like New York City and you have to hit $100,000 in sales, I think you can understand which one would be easier to hit in a much faster way. And usually with quotas, once you hit the quota, you often get incentives afterwards because it's
multipliers.
Right.
That's right.
You're getting way more money to go over your quota. So if you're getting a bad territory, it's not fair. And that's essentially what's being called out here.
Yeah. And so, there's so many really things about that suck for everybody. And I thought I was the only one complaining. I really went out on a limb. When I was younger, I would have just quiet quitted and said, okay, fuck you guys, you're idiots, and I'm gonna move on. But I thought, I shouldn't have to do that. This does not make sense. And anybody with any amount of sales could look at this and see that this is bullshit. So, and it's not just that it's incongruent with the territory and all of that, but not only so, say for example, you hit your territory halfway through the year. I'm sorry, your quota, the number that you're supposed to hit in sales for the year. You hit it halfway through the year. Guess what? The rest of the year you're making qualifiers, you're making multipliers over your regular quota. Where if you're in a sucky territory, same company, you're skidding in on the last day trying to make your territory. So, or trying to make your quota. So you're not going to make the same amount of money. It's not equitable. It is just not, period. There's no way to look at that and say that it is. And I know I get heated up because God damn, it pissed me off. I was like, are you kidding me? Because they just wouldn't listen. They absolutely, it's like they were gaslighting me.
So did you know the whole time that everyone's like, did they share and give visibility to the fact that everyone's quota, no matter on your territory, was the same? Or was that like, okay, so you knew?
No. Yeah, no. So we got this new VP, and I look, in fairness to him, I'm sure he wasn't the only one who made this decision. And so I went to him, I wrote him emails, and I was like, this is, look, and I'm trying to, and I pulled up the sales numbers. Do your due diligence, man. It's not rocket science if you know what you're looking for, and I brought it to him. I pulled out the reports. This territory did 700,000 last year, and that one did 2.5 million. Which one do you think is going to hit their quota faster, And so they just refused to acknowledge. It was like I was speaking another language and they just didn't fucking get it. And I was like, oh my God.
Well, you mentioned that other people, you thought you were the only one who felt that way. So
Yes.
Other people felt that way. Were these both people who it was easy for them to hit their quota and hard for them, or just people who it was hard for them to hit their quotas?
I would say mostly people, it was harder. Like they were really working their ass off, but they were in territories that had been worked, right? So they gave me Texas and they're like, oh, it's a gold mine. You can't just go, I'm just going to market to Texas and, make up and get this quota in 4 months. It's not going to happen. You've got to, that whole state would have taken another year to really work it because the guy who had it before, he didn't do anything. He was more like, "Oh, you're calling me. I'll work it if you call me, but I'm not going to make outbound calls." He thought that it was like below him. So anyway, one of the members of the executive team hired this new VP because they used to work together. Okay. Then the VP hired a new manager because they let my manager go for whatever reason. And they hired this new manager. So he's going to be loyal to his VP friend. And you know what I mean? Because they known each other.
And this VP is the one you were writing emails to, trying to
Yes.
explain. Okay.
Yes. And so we had a meeting and he told me in a meeting just like this that I was making a victim of myself. I was like,
Did he say why? Because of the emails?
no, the fact that I was complaining about it, that I was complaining, quote unquote, that I was saying that it wasn't fair, I was using that kind of language, but I don't know how else to explain that. It wasn't. And I told him it's inequitable. It's not fair. It's not equitable for everyone on the teams, just isn't. And he told me that, and I was like, and I thought, did he just say that to me? Talk about inappropriate and unprofessional. Like, did you just fucking say that? Asshole. Like, and I was pissed. And then, I was trying to be cool, but I was immediately boiling when he said that. I thought, how you would never say that to a man. You would never say that to a fucking man. And so the thing is, this leadership person, I copied her on these emails. She knew what was going on and nothing happened. Like it just,
And the leadership person you're talking about, that is a female. This is
Yes.
above the VP?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He answers to her. So, okay. So, yeah, so that happened. And then not long after that, I can't remember. I eventually acquiesced because I was like, okay, you know what? I just have to start looking for a job. I'm just gonna, because this is not going to change and it's not going to get any better for me. And they clearly have no respect for me or they wouldn't have treated me like that. So I need to move on. And I had it in the back of my mind, I just need to start selling my art. Anyway, so not long after that, within a couple of weeks, the VP comes to me and says, hey, we've got this team, that's not doing well. How would you feel about moving to that team and help get them trained and stuff? And I said, I would love that. I mean, I did because I thought maybe I just need a break from this place. At the same time, I can't quit my job. I made really good money there. It's not like I could say, I'll just go somewhere else and make the same. Not initially, no. So I did that. 6 months later, they laid a bunch of people off, including me.
So the team you went to,
Yeah.
the
They
entire
kept
team
them.
or most of the
No,
team?
just me.
Just you. Okay.
Just me. I know. I'm pretty sure.
And it was like a surprise. Did you hear layoffs were coming?
No.
This company, was this their tactic? Was that they did layoffs though? So you kind of
It was, but I had never been affected by it because I was in sales. Like you
got
have
it.
to,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, they're not going to get rid of their prize ponies when they need that revenue. But I was inconvenient. I was a boat rocker. I'm going to speak up when something doesn't make sense. And I've got my chops. I know what I'm talking about. So it's not like I'm brand new to this. I think, and I don't know, maybe they didn't put that much thought into it. Who knows? Maybe it's just she's a pain in the ass. Let's get rid of her. I don't know. But I definitely think that it was purposeful. I mean, it's just hard. It would be hard for me. I don't know. Like I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think it's so hard to say specifically, obviously, what happens. And a lot of people, this is my first layoff that I've gone through 6 weeks ago. And you can sit here and speculate about all the reasons why and who knew and who talked to whatever. I don't think it does value. But from the story you shared and your perspective, it definitely feels like you were targeted because there was no reason. Now, if half your team got laid off at the same time as you, it's harder to say that. Maybe you knew it was coming. Maybe they moved you to lay you off in the future. But like, it's super weird that it happened anyways. So
yeah, and the truth is, it's possible that they laid off some other team members. I really don't think they did, but now that I think of it, it's possible they did. I just, it's almost, hell, it's been almost 9 months. Like, I don't even remember what happened. Like, I slept
Yeah.
since then, okay?
But it doesn't hurt any less, right?
No,
Why you
right.
got laid off doesn't matter. It's
It
the fact
really
that you
doesn't.
did.
Yeah. And I remember I recorded a video of myself on my TikTok saying, "Oh my God, like this just happened like an hour ago. I don't even know. I don't know what to think about this. Like, I don't know how to feel about it right now." And then of course financially, you're like, okay, what do I do? What money, then you're immediately like, okay, take stock. How much money is in my account or my savings, my checking, and what money do I have in there, 401k or HSA account, right? And then, are they gonna they owed me like they paid me everything they owed me. I don't have any complaints about it. And like I said, they offered me 7 week severance and I asked for 15 and they gave me 14. And I was able to keep my equipment. I was able to keep my MacBook and my monitors and all of that stuff. And I had asked for an additional month because they generally give you like 30 days, like an extra or the end of the month or whatever for insurance. And this was in November and I had already had doctor's appointments set up in December, So I was like, hey, can I have another month? And he gave me 2 months. So yeah.
Yeah, lucky you.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a medical issue and I need insurance, and unfortunately like Cobra and even private insurance doesn't cover it. It's expensive and it didn't cover what I needed, and it was really frustrating because I've heard about other people at this company specifically who have either optionally left or like got let go, and they gave them the additional healthcare, and I was like, I don't want anything and I'll even pay your portion. I just need healthcare that will be covered. I need group insurance. So it is tough that what I've been finding in this situation with other people who go through it is like the lack of humanity that goes into a layoff. I mean, if it's not because your company is literally folding and you can't afford anyone's payroll next week, I feel as though, number one, you shouldn't be having a layoff because financially you shouldn't be that hard to not be able to afford these people. Second, if you're going to lay someone off, you should pay them. Right now, I think the average time, not today, but like prior to 2025, the average time to find a job was 44 days from first interview to offer letter. So that's 6 weeks. 6 weeks minimum severance is my belief, but like that's minimum. In this market right now, 3 months, 4 months. Like, no one's going to skate by. We're not just hanging out going, you know what? I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to apply to a job. It takes forever.
It's just the stigma of when you tell somebody you're unemployed, I'm looking for a job. Okay. That must be
Right.
that it's your fault.
Yeah.
Obviously it's your fault or you would still have a job.
And they ask,
sure, you're
right?
looking for one.
It comes up for sure, right? They're saying,
everybody.
Can you explain this gap in your resume? First of all, I wasn't happy. I didn't ask for this gap. If I asked for the gap, I'm going to address it right away and say, hey, like then I took the time off from work. And there is a stigma that comes with this idea of like, I got laid off and people in media are like, this issue. And you're like, no. But yeah, the performance issue was the company, not me.
Right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
It's their performance issue. Yeah. But I think one of the things that I try to, I wouldn't say put a positive spin, but I try to see what lessons I've learned in this time, to kind of be introspective in this. And what I realized was that the longer I was not in that toxic environment and just the stress of, my God, listen, commission sales, especially at the enterprise level, dude, it's stressful. It's really stressful because you're not just selling. You've got to create reports and then you've got to go to this meeting and talk about it. And then you've got to, there's just, it's a lot of work and they pay you well, but it is a lot of work and it's stressful. And so what I realized was that it took me a few months, even though I'm looking for a job and I'm all fucked up because I'm looking for a job. But like, it took me a few months to go, well, I don't feel very stressed. Like even though I should be, right? Because I don't have a job, but
yeah.
But I don't feel that level of stress that I did. And
it's
that's
crazy.
Isn't that weird? And that's when I went, you know what? Maybe I will sell my paintings. Maybe I will do, regardless of what happens with my job. Maybe this is the reason. I don't know. This is like an indication. I'm not a like big signs person, but maybe it's an indication that it's an opportunity.
Yeah. The breath of air that you get when you weirdly get laid off or let go, or you've quit your job even. Because I've back in 2021, right at the last day of the year, I quit my job and I said, this is not for me anymore. And I took what I thought was going to be like this really long, indefinite pause of my life.
Right.
and it ended up being 10 months long. But within the first month, I literally was like, that was great. I slept every day. And then I started being like, I'm antsy. Now what do I do? And I ended up doing stuff that I wanted to. I became a freelance
Right.
consultant. I went to the dog
Nice.
park every day with my dog. I lived
Oh,
life. Yeah. And it
yeah,
was great.
yeah,
And I made just enough money to pay my bills. And I was so happy with that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then I started getting more into the like, I need more money thing. And I want to start this business, which costs a lot of money. And I went down that avenue, which led me to the company I worked at, which I feel like I took for all the wrong reasons. I took it for the money. That's it. It's the only reason I said yes to
You know
that
what?
dress.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There
Yeah,
isn't.
I know. I think that there is like, for example, when I interview for a sales job, I tell them, look, I'm motivated by money. You shouldn't, if you don't have salespeople who are motivated by money, you don't have the right people. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. There's definitely a personality in that. And, I was explaining this last one. I'm like, it's like when you get your comp plan. Your comp plan is, for those who don't know, it's just how you make your commissions, like what counts toward your commissions and how it's calculated and that sort of thing. And anytime I get that, I'm like, okay, how can I max this out? What do I need to do? And then I want to know, is there a cap? If there's a cap, I need to know, like beforehand. I asked that question. If there's a cap, that's a problem.
Right. Because if there's no cap, it gives you the opportunity to set your own goals and hit what
Exactly
you
right.
want to hit. And it's not like a company goal anymore. It's like your personal goal and it keeps you
It's like your
motivated.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not in sales for that exact reason. I just
Well,
want to know what I'm going to make and be happy with it.
I think that's why I'm happy because sales at this level offers you a pretty, I would say a larger base than a lot of the maybe traditional sales roles do. And so that makes me happy. And then anything I make over my commission is just like gravy.
Yeah.
But I can set goals. I can go, okay, I want to pay off my house in this number of years. So this is what I need to do to make that happen. Sometimes I think I'm not like I'm speaking from a sour grapes perspective because I think it's hard not to feel that because I was laid off. But at the same time, I want to think that they were being as fair as they thought they could be or needed to be. You know that I'm not. I'm just. I really, I really want to think that.
I mean, I'll say it for you. If a company that, in my opinion, from what you've shared, a company that isn't willing to restructure the quotas that each territory has to hit, and you've brought it up to them multiple times, if they're not willing to rethink that and they're not willing to make that equitable, then
I know. See, I try. I don't want to be like their shit because they were good to me. And the time that I was there, they were very good to me. And I
even good
made
people make bad decisions. So I'm just
well,
saying.
yes, you're right. You're right. I'm sweating now. Oh my god.
She's applying makeup right now in case
I got
people
my
want to know.
sponge out. I'm just sweating. Yeah.
Well, I'll say like, and it's public knowledge, but the company that I was laid off from, the email that we got that said, this is because of these reasons we want to
You
hit
didn't get a face
10.
to face. They
Well, I
just
got a
like they gave you an
webinar.
email.
I got a webinar with hundreds of other people that you couldn't see. You
Shut
weren't allowed to
up.
talk. You weren't allowed to ask questions. Your face wasn't on camera. You got a legal statement read to you. There's a YouTube video that I posted about it. You can hear it
I'm
if
gonna
you're
look for that
interested.
because I can't even believe that. That's fucked up. I'm sorry. That's messed up. That's really
I was so unimpacted because I didn't love the job. And so when I found out, it wasn't like, oh my God, my life's over. I literally was like, I think I had been talking for a good year to coworkers that I was like, I want to quit. And they were always like, if I go on vacation and I come back, I always look for your name first to see if you're
is,
still working
is
here.
Dre
And I'm
still there?
like, yeah. And I'm always like, I like that. I like that I keep people guessing. You never know. I
Right,
might
right,
quit
right.
tomorrow. And then I was still there. And then I made a 1 year plan. And I was like, I'm going to pay off all this stuff. In 1 year from now, I'm going to be debt free, and then I'm going to quit. And I made the decision. I was like, I wanted to quit. I wanted it to be my choice. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. And someone else took that from me and just said, here's the spreadsheet. We're deleting this line, and that line is Dre, and you're gone. And within like 5 minutes of the call, my access was denied. I can't log in. Nothing's happening. I had already texted and messaged everyone internally that I wanted to talk to let them know that I was getting laid off because I got the email the night before and then I had to work all day long and my manager didn't make me work. So I just sat there and did
Okay.
nothing all day waiting for the call. And then the
Yeah.
call, that was 30 minutes of my time, by the way, that was blocked, lasted 5 minutes and was like, your position is terminated effective immediately. Thank you for your time. And now HR will
You're
talk to you about
welcome.
this. Yeah. They're like, you're going to get an email with these things. Please sign your separation document. And I was like, this is happening. And then I was like, what do you do?
Yeah, this is real. This is real. It's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy, but
Well,
it happens.
well, see, now I think I didn't get it so bad. But also, they didn't tell, it's not like they announced it. This
Yeah.
person was laid off. You would just go, Well, where's Bob? Like, why isn't he answering?" You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't know somebody was laid off. They
My
didn't tell
favorite
anyone.
was that when people at our company, we had some toxic leaders in my specific area who are also laid off. They also are no longer there, but they would just send this message out. So we had a very, very big group channel in Slack, and they would send a message out just saying, this person is no longer with the company. If you have any questions, feel free to message us. And everyone in the team would just hit the acknowledge little emoji button. And I was like, I just talked to them the other day. They were not quitting. I know they didn't find a new job.
Exactly.
So you're telling me, and then now all the internal conversations happen. People would ping me and call me and be like, do you know what happened to so-and-so? And I'd be like,
Right.
yeah, it's called a performance improvement plan, and they're gone.
Right. Yeah.
So,
we wouldn't know it. As a matter of fact, I had people reach out to me the next day or even a few days later on my mobile saying, "Girl, what happened? What? Are you kidding me? They let you go?" Like, things like that. And I was like, I didn't even know it. At the time I was still kind of reeling. Fortunately, it's worked out. I've been able to pay my bills and I'm not destitute. I had some money in the bank and I had severance. So, I was paid for my commission and I had unpaid vacation. I had like 20 days unpaid. That tells you that I didn't take any fucking time off, right?
Yeah. Well, that's good. I did want to ask one question before we wrap this up, and that's because you had been looking for a role for the last 8 months.
Mhm.
What advice would you have for some people who are on the job hunt today in this market?
That's a good question. I would say a couple of things. If you want to stay in the industry that you're in, like if you're just committed to that, think of some ways to maybe, for example, I've been a project manager in the past. And so I've been taking project management courses thinking I would get my project management certification. I never did. I haven't done it, but I mean, so if they want to stay where they are and they just love it and they're young especially and they have lots of room in their career to move around, maybe get some additional training. You can get some really nice certifications through Coursera, even through LinkedIn. I haven't looked at that a lot, but yeah, Coursera is the one I use because there's a lot of technical software stuff and things like that. And definitely hit your network. Like, I have a lot of connections on LinkedIn and I would just, anybody that I could reach out to them directly, I would just say, hey, it's not your fault. You know what I mean? Being unemployed it's like a place that most people visit for a while. And it's hard to navigate. And it is, but just know that, you are more than your job. Your life has way more value than just what you do to make a living.
Yeah. So, Angela, are you open to people, if they hear this story, if they hear you, if they resonate with your story and they just want to chat or they want to connect with you, are you open to LinkedIn connections coming in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's it for today's episode of the Reboot Era. Huge thanks to Angela for sharing her layoff story, her artistic journey, and all the painfully real-world truths we wish weren't relatable. If Angela's story resonated with you, be sure to connect with her on LinkedIn and check out her stunning art at prettybold.shop. As always, if you're in your own reboot era, just know you're not alone.